What you think you know about .22 Magnum? Forget it. It's not just for squirrels anymore. It's showing up in bug-out bags, truck guns, and even nightstands. Today, we're going to show you why .22 WMR is quietly becoming the smart man's choice for urban survival. Real ballistic gel results that'll raise your eyebrows, ammo like Federal Punch that punches way above its weight, platforms like the PMR-30 and WMP with legit stopping power, light recoil, low cost, serious bite. You might rethink your 9mm after this. The velocity factor. Let's get straight to the point. The .22 Magnum isn't your grandpa's rimfire. We're talking velocities pushing 2,000 feet per second from a rifle and 1,500 plus from a handgun. That's approaching .223 territory from a round that costs half as much and recoils like a hiccup. For perspective, your average 9mm is moving around 1,150 feet per second. Physics doesn't care about caliber pride, folks. Speed kills. Let us break down what this velocity advantage actually means in practical terms. When a projectile strikes tissue at these speeds, the temporary wound cavity created is exponentially larger than slower rounds of similar size. This is basic physics. Kinetic energy increases with the square of velocity, not linearly. Compare that to .223 Remington, which typically drops from 3,000 feet per second in a rifle to under 2,100 feet per second in a pistol configuration, a 30% loss. This velocity retention makes the .22 Magnum uniquely qualified as a crossover caliber that performs consistently across platforms. When we're talking terminal performance, consistency is king. There's another aspect of velocity that deserves attention: barrier penetration. In testing, the lightweight, high-velocity .22 Magnum bullets show remarkably little deflection through intermediate barriers like autoglass and thin plywood. This isn't just theory. The 40-grain bullets traveling at these speeds simply don't have the mass to be significantly deflected. Meanwhile, heavier, slower rounds often show unpredictable deflection through the same barriers. For real-world defensive scenarios where perfect conditions are rarely present, this predictable path matters tremendously. The capacity game changer. This is the Kel-Tec PMR-30. 30 rounds. Yes, 30 of .22 Magnum in a package lighter than your unloaded Glock 19. Would you rather have 15 rounds of 9mm or 30 rounds of a caliber that still penetrates FBI spec barriers? The math isn't complicated. Let's dig deeper into what this capacity advantage really means. In any defensive scenario, shot placement becomes degraded under stress. Department of Justice studies show that police officers, trained professionals, have hit rates below 30% in actual gunfights. For civilians, that number drops even lower. What this tells us is that having additional rounds available isn't just a nice bonus. It's a critical factor in determining outcomes. A standard service pistol gives you 15 to 17 rounds. The PMR-30 doubles that while weighing several ounces less. There's also the Rock Island XT-22 Magnum, offering 14 rounds in a 1911 platform. The Smith & Wesson WMP giving you 30 rounds. The new Ruger 5.7/22 mag convertible offering 20 rounds. Manufacturers are recognizing that this round deserves serious capacity options. Even in revolvers, we're seeing capacity advantages. The standard .38 special snub nose gives you 5 rounds. The .22 Magnum version of the same frame size, 8 rounds. That's a 60% increase in available firepower in the same footprint. The wound channel reality. This is Federal's Punch .22 Magnum load. Notice the penetration depth, 13.5 inches. That's well within FBI standards for effective defense rounds. But look at the wound channel. Those of you who understand terminal ballistics know that .22 Magnum doesn't just poke a hole, it creates devastating temporary cavitation because of its velocity. The round destabilizes and tumbles, creating a wound channel disproportionate to its size. Let us show you something that changed entire perspective on this round. Here we have ballistic gel tests of 4 different calibers: 9mm FMJ, 9mm JHP, .22 long rifle, and .22 Magnum. Pay close attention to the wound track characteristics. The 9mm FMJ creates a straight, narrow path, what we call a permanent crush cavity, with minimal disruption to surrounding tissue. The 9mm JHP expands as designed, creating a larger crush cavity and some limited temporary cavitation. Now look at the .22 LR. Similar to the FMJ, it creates a narrow path with minimal disruption. But the .22 Magnum? The temporary stretch cavity extends 3 to 4 inches from the primary wound track. That's energy being transferred into tissue that can damage blood vessels and organs without direct hits. Watch as the bullet enters the gel. The temporary cavity begins to form almost instantly. That's the shock wave of energy transferring into the medium. At its maximum, the cavity reaches nearly 4 inches in diameter, despite the bullet itself being just over 0.2 of an inch wide. That's a damage multiplier of 20 times the projectile's actual size. Modern .22 Magnum defensive ammunition has evolved dramatically from the varmint hunting rounds of yesterday. Manufacturers like Hornady, Speer, and Federal now produce purpose-built defensive loads optimized for expansion and energy transfer. Here are recovered bullets from various tests. Notice the Hornady Critical Defense with its patented flex tip technology. The polymer insert prevents clothing and barriers from clogging the hollow point, ensuring reliable expansion even through heavy garments. The recovered diameter averages 0.36 inches, almost double the original size. The silent performer. With a proper suppressor, .22 Magnum becomes hearing safe. I'm running this Ruger American with a silencer Co. Sparrow, and it's movie quiet with subsonic loads. For home defense, having an option that won't blow out your eardrums could be the difference between hearing your attacker's accomplice and becoming a victim twice. And yes, even suppressed, these rounds maintain enough velocity to expand reliably, unlike many subsonic 9mm loads. Let's put some numbers to what we're seeing and hearing. I'm using a calibrated sound meter to measure the actual decibel levels of different suppressed firearms. First, an unsuppressed .22 Magnum registers at 156 decibels, well above the 140 decibel threshold for hearing damage. That's louder than a jet engine at close range. Another aspect of suppressed shooting is flash signature. In low-light defensive scenarios, preserving your night vision can be critical. Watch this footage filmed with night vision equipment. First, the unsuppressed .22 Magnum. Notice the significant muzzle flash that would temporarily blind you in dark conditions. Now the suppressed version, virtually no visible flash signature. This offers a tactical advantage that shouldn't be underestimated. You maintain your visual acuity while potentially blinding an attacker adjusted to the darkness. In a home defense scenario, hearing protection isn't typically available. The average indoor gunshot creates sound pressure levels that cause immediate, permanent hearing damage. A single unsuppressed 9mm shot indoors can cause tinnitus and hearing loss. For those in states where suppressors aren't legal, several manufacturers now offer integral barrel technologies that reduce sound levels without falling under NFA regulations. The innovative ARMS integral .22 Magnum barrel for the Ruger 1022 platform reduces sound levels by approximately 27 decibels while maintaining velocity and accuracy. The cost effectiveness. Let's talk training. Proficiency requires practice. Even with today's ammo market, we can still find .22 Magnum for around 40 cents a round when buying in bulk. Compare that to 60 to 70 cents for 9mm practice ammo or nearly $1 for defensive 9mm. What does this mean? We can shoot twice as much for the same money. Which shooter do you think will be more effective under stress? The one who trains monthly or the one who trains weekly? Studies from law enforcement training have consistently shown that shooting skills begin to degrade after just 14 days without practice. After 30 days, significant degradation occurs in critical areas like draw to first shot times, shot placement under stress, and malfunction clearances. By training more frequently with affordable .22 Magnum, the results were revealing. 8 out of 10 shooters showed significant improvement, not just with the .22 Magnum, but also with 9mm, despite not firing a single 9mm round during the training period. Skills like sight alignment, trigger control, and follow-through transferred nearly perfectly between calibers. Another factor in cost-effectiveness is availability. During the 2020-2021 ammunition shortage, while 9mm was often completely unavailable or priced at over $1 per round, .22 Magnum remained relatively available. For those who reload centerfire calibers to save money, consider this. The time spent reloading has a value. If it takes you 3 hours to reload 500 rounds of 9mm and your time is worth even $20 per hour, you're adding 12 cents per round in labor costs alone. Factory point. .22 Magnum starts looking even more attractive from this perspective. Training varieties matter too. Because .22 Magnum is affordable, we can incorporate diverse training scenarios, including failure drills, multiple target transitions, and low-light shooting without constantly worrying about ammunition costs. This comprehensive training pays dividends in defensive readiness that can't be measured in dollars and cents. The all-weather performer. The sealed case design of .22 Magnum makes it remarkably resistant to moisture compared to traditional rimfire. I've tested rounds that were submerged for 24 hours and they still fired reliably. For a survival round that might sit in your truck through freezing winters and sweltering summers, this reliability factor is huge. I wouldn't say the same for budget centerfire ammunition. Let me show you a series of tests I conducted to evaluate the environmental resilience of various ammunition types. First, the freeze test. I placed .22 LR, .22 Magnum, 9mm, and .45 ACP ammunition in a freezer at 0 degrees Fahrenheit for 72 hours, then immediately attempted to fire them. The results? 100% reliability from the .22 Magnum and centerfire rounds, but only 82% reliability from standard .22 LR. The construction difference matters. The critical difference is in the case design and priming compound. The .22 Magnum uses a thicker case wall with better crimping around the bullet. More importantly, the priming compound is of higher quality and more uniformly distributed around the rim. Heat resistance matters particularly for truck guns or ammunition stored in less than ideal conditions. We subjected test samples to repeated heating cycles of 140 degrees Fahrenheit, simulating a closed vehicle in summer for 30 days. The .22 Magnum showed no significant degradation in performance, with velocity spreads remaining within 35 feet per second of factory new ammunition. Standard pressure variations remained within SAAMI specifications. In contrast, some budget 9mm loads showed primer softening and velocity deviations exceeding 100 feet per second after the same exposure. Notice how the .22 Magnum's more substantial rim and case rigidity result in positive extraction even with significant fouling present. The case strength also prevents the common rimfire malfunction known as case head separation, which can disable a firearm until cleared with tools. The multi-platform advantage. There's unmatched versatility here. One caliber that runs effectively in revolvers like the Ruger LCR, semi-auto pistols like the PMR-30, lever actions like the Henry, bolt actions like the CZ457, semi-auto rifles like the Savage A22. Name another round that performs well across all those platforms while maintaining the same ballistic profile. I'll wait. This multi-platform capability offers strategic advantages that go beyond simple convenience. Let me demonstrate with a practical scenario many of us might face. Imagine you've standardized on .22 Magnum for your family's emergency preparedness. Your primary home defense weapon is this S&W WMP with 30-round capacity. Your truck backpack gun is this folding Kel-Tec CMR-30 carbine. Your spouse's preferred firearm is this 8-shot Ruger LCR revolver. All 3 firearms use identical ammunition. If you need to redistribute ammunition in an emergency, there's no sorting required. One person running low, simply share from the same box. In a crisis scenario, this ammunition commonality eliminates potentially deadly confusion. Let's talk about consistency across platforms. We've conducted accuracy testing with 5 different .22 Magnum firearms representing each action type. Using the same Hornady critical defense ammunition, here are the results at 25 yards. Ruger LCR revolver, 2.5-inch groups. PMR-30, semi-auto, 2.3-inch groups. Henry lever, action, 1.5-inch groups. CZ 457 bolt. Action, 0.8-inch groups. Savage. A22 semi-auto, 1.2-inch groups. This consistency means skills transfer readily between platforms. Sight picture, hold, and trigger discipline remain consistent regardless of which firearm you're using. Several manufacturers now offer conversion options that expand this versatility even further. The Chiappa 1873 SAA comes with interchangeable .22 Magnum and .22 LR cylinders. The new Ruger 57 can be converted between 5.7 by 28 mm and .22 Magnum with a simple barrel change. This adaptability extends to survival scenarios where ammunition acquisition might become challenging. Having a firearm that can utilize multiple calibers through simple conversion increases your options dramatically. Another often overlooked advantage: suppressor compatibility across platforms. This dead air mask suppressor works on all these firearms with the appropriate thread adapters. For those with NFA items, being able to use one suppressor across your entire collection represents significant cost savings and simplified paperwork. From a prepper or survivalist perspective, standardizing on a caliber that functions across this wide range of firearm types simply makes logical sense. You're maximizing adaptability while minimizing logistical complications. The Recoil Truth. Watch this back-to-back demonstration. First, the 9mm Glock 19. Now the .22 Magnum WMP. For newer shooters or those with hand strength issues, this minimal recoil means faster follow-up shots and better shot placement. Remember, placement beats caliber every single time. We've watched new shooters consistently put round center mass with a .22 Magnum while struggling with 9mm. Which would you rather have in a defensive situation? A miss with a proper caliber or hits with a mouse gun? The barrier performance. This might be the most surprising part. The .22 Magnum penetrates barriers like auto glass and light cover with minimal deflection thanks to its velocity. While testing 5 common defensive rounds through a car windshield at 15 yards, the .22 Magnum Federal punch load stayed within a 3-inch group. Most of the pistol calibers keyholed or deflected significantly. When was the last time you practiced shooting through barriers with your carry gun? The weight advantage. 100 rounds of 9mm weighs about 2.5 pounds. 100 rounds of .22 Magnum, just over a pound. For backpackers, pilots with weight restrictions, or anyone building a lightweight kit, that difference is substantial. We can carry twice the ammunition for the same weight penalty. Ask anyone who's humped ammo over distance. Ounces equal pounds, and pounds equal pain. The small game factor. Let's address versatility. Your defensive 9mm isn't taking down dinner. With .22 Magnum, we can effectively harvest small game out to 100 yards with the right rifle. Try that with your pistol calibers. In a true survival situation, having one round that can both protect you and feed you is invaluable. This dual-purpose capability makes .22 Magnum a true survival round. The overlooked armor limitation. Here's where things get interesting. Most people wearing soft body armor are only protected against handgun threats. The .22 .22 Magnum, despite its small size, pushes velocities that challenge Level 2 EA and some Level 2 soft armors. Especially from rifle-length barrels, we're not suggesting it's an armor-piercing round, but its capabilities are frequently underestimated, making it potentially more dangerous than many realize. The psychological edge. This is something you won't see discussed often. The distinctive report of the .22 Magnum, louder and sharper than most expect, combined with its muzzle flash, creates significant psychological deterrent value. Several defensive trainers confirm that any determined attacker who takes a .22 Magnum round center mass is reconsidering their life choices immediately. Remember, most offensive gun uses end without a shot fired. When shots are fired, most end with no fatalities. The psychological stop is real. The expanding options. The industry has finally caught on. Look at these options that didn't exist 5 years ago. Rock Island's new double-stack .22 Magnum 1911, Ruger's Light Rack .22 Magnum, Kel-Tec's CP-33 and .22 Magnum, S and W's M and P and .22 Magnum. Manufacturers don't invest in dead calibers. They're seeing the same thing we are, growing demand from informed shooters who understand the real-world advantages. The underestimated lethality. According to CDC data, .22 caliber firearms account for more fatalities annually than any other caliber. Now, most of those are likely .22 LR, but it illustrates an important point. Shot placement trumps caliber. The .22 Magnum offers 40% more energy than .22 LR, while maintaining the same accuracy potential in quality firearms. In capable hands, it's far from a toy. So where does this leave us? We're not telling you to ditch your 9mm or your .45, but we are suggesting that the humble .22 Magnum deserves a place in your defensive and survival planning. Whether it's a backup gun, your deep concealment option, or your truck gun, the advantages are clear: manageable recoil for precise shot placement, impressive terminal ballistics with modern ammunition, exceptional capacity options, versatility across multiple platforms, cost-effective training potential. The most dangerous round isn't always the biggest. Sometimes it's the one that gets overlooked and underestimated until it's too late. If you found this breakdown helpful, hit that subscribe button and notification bell. Next week, we're doing a deep dive on the best .22 Magnum platforms for urban defense. Until then, stay safe, train often, and keep an open mind.